Welcome to EnVision Center News, where we discuss community impact and involvement with today's nonprofit leaders and philanthropists.
Dawn, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Before we get into all the awesome things that your organization does and is doing, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Give me your origin story.
Sure. Origin is too much, but I'll start with 1994.
Okay.
That's where I came to Sandpoint with my husband. I started a veterinary practice with him back in the day, and we built a veterinary facility that now has about 5 or 6 veterinarians, and we, 30 years later, are now able to do some other things with our lives.
How long were you part of this center?
The veterinary place?
Yeah.
We started North Idaho Animal Hospital in 94, and we've stayed there the whole time for 30 years. Since then, we just recently retired, I guess you'd say, but we don't feel retired because we have all these other things that we're doing. And I just got done doing an acupuncture appointment there. So
So you
I'm still working
involved.
in veterinary medicine, but less and less.
Okay.
And what happened, how I got into mental health is that when my son, I have 2 children, and he was about 19, he had a psychotic break. He was playing competitive hockey in Canada, and it was extremely stressful, and I think that triggered this onset of psychosis, among other things that could have done it, microconcussions. We don't really know why, but that started a 12-year roller coaster. I was going to say adventure, but it hasn't been. It's been a really hard roller coaster ride and a lot of downs in that ride. And the reason that it was so hard is because, number one, we didn't know anything about mental illness. The only thing we knew was when a dog came in that had gotten into pot or marijuana, I should say marijuana, that was psychosis to us. We didn't know what it was like to see a human do these things with their brain. So that was the one reason we didn't recognize that. And then the other thing was we didn't know how to access help for him. And that delayed treatment.
Yeah.
And it delayed recovery. The other thing is that mental illnesses take on these forms that can be variable, and they take a long time to diagnose. So 12 years later, he's doing better, but it was very, very, very isolating. We lost the personality that we had grown up with, so it was really hard to recognize our son at times. And there was a lot of grief with that, and the isolation was immense. Like, I just can't tell you how hard it was, because people say that mental illnesses are not casserole illnesses, meaning nobody brings you the meal when something's wrong with your kid mentally. They don't know what to do, actually. They feel for you, but there's a lot of isolation that goes on with that. So we had to deal with all that. And that's how I found the National Alliance on Mental Illness. In Sandpoint, there's a branch. And they navigated for us, with us. They supported us.
How did you find them originally? Like a Google search?
I really don't know. It was by accident, honestly. And now I'm their president.
Well, good thing you found them. So they helped you when you were searching and you were like, I need support, I need guidance, I need resources. You found them, and they're a national organization with chapters throughout the country.
Yes.
Are they nationwide everywhere, or just Pacific Northwest, or?
They're the largest grassroots organization in the United States. And there's over 1,000 chapters. We call them affiliates.
Affiliates, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there wasn't one here. So
there was.
Oh, there was. Okay.
It had just started probably 4 or 5 years. And the people that ran it, they were doing education and support, and they guided us in how to navigate and get our son back to his best state, I should say.
Okay, and so what does it look like if you're in your shoes and you have a loved one and you're like, I don't know how to navigate this? Do you just shoot them an email, help, or what? How does it work to actually start to get that support?
Most people call us. We do have a phone number on our website. or they email us, and then we'll make a call. We
Okay.
usually don't do anything over email because the stories are so varied, and you have to get a lot of information so you know how to help people. Everybody's in a different stage when they call us.
And so you're there to help them figure out even like at the very beginning stages if they don't even have a diagnosis yet necessarily,
Yep.
right?
It could be that, or we helped someone whose daughter had been living on the streets in California for several years, and she wanted to know how to make contact. So we helped through, social workers in California. We helped contact the daughter
Wow.
and get some communication going.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
pretty gratifying when you
Yeah.
can help someone because, again, it's so isolating when you're in the middle of it. It's kind of lonely.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, like, what are some of the reasons? That was a great example. Can you give some other examples of ways that you help people, whether it's support groups or counseling or connecting them with the right doctor or whatever it is that you can help?
Yeah, we
folks with?
can't give out a lot of personal information or public information. We give them a list of this person can deal with this kind of issue, and this group does this. We're really have to stay very straight and narrow as far as how we refer. But in general, once we find out what someone needs, we can just dig down and figure it out. For instance, my problem was that I had an adult child with a really serious mental illness, and I needed to get guardianship. I didn't really know anything about that because
Right.
who does that when their kid's 19? No one. And that was probably the best thing we'd ever done. Like, I can't even describe the people that did that for us. I'm forever grateful for.
Yeah, and so that was kind of
They're one
those
of our biggest donors too.
Wow.
They started NAMI.
Okay, and so in that's like a legal component too, right? That then has
Yeah,
to be
that's
waded through.
legal.
Yeah. And is that fairly common within the mental health space of people needing that
Not
for
everybody
adults?
gets guardianship, but I bet they wish they did.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you do have to have consent from the individual. So in this case, I had to wait till he was really clear in the mind and say, listen, best way to do this is to give us the power so that when you get sick, or if you get sick, because at that point he was really clear, then we can help you. Because they're afraid. A lot of times they're very afraid because it's traumatic when you are the person that has the mental illness. It's very traumatizing. People are, handcuffing you, and they're taking you to the hospital, and they're strapping you down because they don't want you to hurt yourself. And it's very traumatizing. So we had to make sure that the time was right for that guardianship. It's very tricky.
Yeah, I can see, and even that, right? That's something that someone would need. Okay, you can pursue guardianship, but the timing needs to be right, and this is how you do it. Even if someone already has that idea in their head, there's so many layers to it or elements to get it done, like things that you would truly never think of unless you were in that situation.
Yeah, the other thing that NAMI did was explain through their free education series. It's an 8-week course for family members. They explained some of the disease processes that therapists can't give you because they're doing therapy with the person. They're not really helping you.
Yeah.
And so as family members, we learned all about schizoaffective disorder and bipolar and all of these things that we didn't know anything about. Where else do you find out that information? Not everybody can read a book on it.
You're right.
And then communication skills are really important when you're dealing with someone that has thought interruptions, because mental illnesses are either emotional thought disorders, thought, emotion, and behavior. Those are the three things that it can affect. So how you communicate with someone that's having a thought disorder is very specific because they're having a lot of noise.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And you're saying that, and we talked a little bit before we started rolling here about kind of, you're on a mission to sort of affect cultural change, and like there's stigma that goes, and there's a certain persona that people think of when they think of mental health. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. Let's see. Stigma is a interesting word. I think what it is that there's discrimination. People that live with mental health conditions or challenges or diseases, they're discriminated against, and there's a reason. It's generally lack of knowledge. People don't understand them. Look at the family members. They don't even know sometimes. So how is an employer or the public going to know about these things? I'll tell you the statistics. 1 in 20 have serious mental illnesses that affect function, a job, their relationships, their place of living. Those are the big things that get affected. And those are the ones that NAMI deals with. So I would think that, I forget the question actually.
We're talking about like the cultural.
Yes.
Cultural
So
impacts and changing the way people.
When you
view
have
those
1 in 20, you may not know anybody that has had this problem, and so the tendency is to think, "Oh, this person isn't right. I don't think I can deal with this."
Right.
And so they don't get the help they need. They don't get the job they want. They don't get to talk to the people or connect with the people that maybe they could. And they're very silent. Like when you look at, let's say you have schizophrenia and you get your treatments and all of a sudden you're feeling really good and you're functional and you got your job back and you're doing really well. People don't see that. You're not going to go around with a cast on your brain so that people can see that you're healing.
Yeah.
And so not seeing that recovery actually happens leads to this stigma, because what we see are the people, the 2% that become violent. We see that.
And it sticks in your brain.
Literally,
because it's
we
extreme.
maybe just saw that
Yeah.
this month, right? Where someone has not gotten the treatment they needed.
Right.
And it's pretty rough because then that stigma sets in. Oh, I guess everyone with a mental illness is violent, but it's actually the opposite. They're usually victims of crime.
Yeah. Wow.
They're very victimized.
That's such a great point, and that happens with kind of every facet of life, right? We only know what sells the newspapers, with whatever the topic is.
True.
You only learn about really frequently the bad cops or the bad, XYZ person, fill in the blank, no matter what it is. Mental illness, a professional, a doctor that does something they're not supposed to do. But when you're kind of doing what you're supposed to do, nobody really cares or notices, right? That's not really newsworthy, even though it especially in the case of mental health, it is kind of newsworthy in the sense that it's a huge accomplishment for somebody and their family to be able to get on the road to recovery and living that normal life. And you said, 1 in 20, that means that everybody knows.
Someone.
Everybody does know, but they might not even realize that this person they work with did
True.
struggle with this or whatever.
True, because no one talks about it.
Right, because people don't talk about it. So do you wish that people would talk about it more, or like that, it was just people weren't afraid to talk about it, or that is it appropriate for someone if because if I'm dealing with somebody, or if I know of somebody who's had mental health problems, I don't know what's the appropriate way to ask them about check in on them and see if they're okay. Or
That's a really good question.
Is it rude to pry, what's the line? And really I feel that way
I think
about
if you
any
consider
issue,
it a medical problem, you would just treat it as if you think they might have a medical problem. And what questions would you ask if you thought they had diabetes?
yeah. Or like you got
You could
surgery,
say
did the
something
surgery go
like,
wrong?
do you struggle with your mood sometimes? And they'll tell you.
Yeah.
But I think the main point is that you don't see the recovery. You're only seeing the people on the streets that haven't gotten the treatment or the care they need. And the reason it's so hard is because accessing mental health care is a bummer. Not only, we don't even have a psychiatrist in this town. Thank goodness for Dr. Wasif, who is on our NAMI board. He's a psychologist in town that is able to take that whole set of people that really need serious mental illness care and have nurse practitioners now that we deal with. But accessing them is one thing, but then getting your therapy and your treatments for rehab, those are all things that don't get paid for sometimes. Medicaid is already struggling, and they never even took care of rehab. the way they should have after the 80s. It kind of stopped in the 80s, 70s, 80s.
So that can lead me to my next question, which is, what are your biggest needs if somebody wants to either volunteer, or maybe they have a skill, or they're part of a profession that, is linked to mental health? Are there certain types of people or jobs or needs that you have for volunteers?
We need so much.
Every nonprofit.
I do want to tell you, really, just backing up a little bit before we get to that, if you break your leg, you get it fixed. You get your treatment, right? You get a cast, or maybe you get a pin. And then you go to physical therapy, because you could have your pin, but then your muscles atrophy.
Right.
So when you injure your brain, whether it's a traumatic injury or some kind of a miswire or whatever, and you get your treatment, that doesn't mean you're better. You have to rehab your brain. And it's called psychosocial rehabilitation. And I feel like once we sat down as a board in 2020, I think it was, right around COVID, we realized that we were serving the families really well, but the people that live with the serious mental illness in this area weren't getting the rehab that they needed. And that was something in NAMI's bandwidth that we could, bite into, I guess.
Were they
so
not
we
getting
started a project.
Were they not getting it because there wasn't the people to offer that? Or
there
because,
wasn't a facility.
Okay.
There was no outpatient facility. There is this thing called community-based resource service, where it's an individual therapy where you meet with me, we go shopping for an hour, and then you're done. But what we created was a day facility. And the members, it's a place where people can be connected, and they get that connection, which they really need. And they also have no clinical, there's no people in there that doctors or nurses or anything. It's just staff. It's a no hierarchy facility. So they'll do the work of this facility as their job. So they get purpose. And it's in a safe place. So people, place, and purpose. We created that. We found a model that has over 400, I think now, clubhouses in the world. It's a global Clubhouse International model.
Wow.
And they have great output. So when we wrote our grants, people really understood that it was real.
Yeah.
It's a launching pad for people that have already been treated, that are doing pretty well, but not really getting out, maybe isolated, not very lonely. I mean, we have a loneliness scale that we do and a happiness scale when they come in. And membership is free and lifetime. So you just get in there, figure out, like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to get back into the computer business, or I want to go back to school. And maybe some people don't want to do anything, and they are just there, and they run the clubhouse. So all of these members come free and lifetime, so that if they ever need us again, they can come back. We launched that in November. It's called Sand Creek Connections. And it's probably the best thing we could have done, because when we did the stats, 1 in 20, then you take Bonner and Boundary County, because NAMI supposedly serves those two counties. We're working on that transportation-wise.
Yeah.
You get about up to 3,000 people could be living with, we call it SMI, serious mental illness. That's a lot of people we could be serving.
Yeah.
Usually, like Michigan has 40 clubhouses, so every county has one.
Wow.
We're behind.
Okay.
We're number 1 in Idaho. We're very proud of that.
The first one in Idaho.
We're
all
the
of
first
Idaho.
one.
Oh, wow. So now do you think, or maybe it's even already started, where people are reaching out to you and being like, we're going to start?
No,
it hasn't
they
happened yet.
they don't want to do what we did. It was hard.
Yeah.
But what we'd like to do is, once we get this running and doing well and independent, sustainable, then we would want to go to Kootenai County and Ada County and get that going down there. So
That's incredible.
So this is our beta site up here.
Wow, what a great,
I'm really
amazing
proud of us.
accomplishment.
It was a team effort, I'll tell you.
Yeah. So
It took so much.
what is that like? What do you need to be sustainable, or what has
You
to
need
happen?
money.
So you have to
So
have.
the 3 Ps are people, place, and purpose. And that's what the facility does. We get this working side by side, members helping members, staff, no hierarchy, and we have this warm, comfortable environment. And we get them specific types of employment where they are not feeling pressured, so they can build their work stamina, whether it's in the clubhouse or with a transitional employer. But the fourth P is called payment. And that is a bugger. You cannot get payment through any Medicaid code right now. We do have a Medicaid code called a Clubhouse code, but it's not open in this state. So that's what we're working on. Once we get that, we're going to be fine.
Okay.
So that will make us sustainable. Right now, we're relying on community grants.
Right.
Thank you. All of our community, Inovia, oh my gosh, so many foundations have helped us. And the Community Assistance League, I want to mention, there's just so many people have come out of the woodwork to help us get this going, because it is so discriminatory not to help people when they're sick the way we do with a physical illness. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's maddening. And with my own personal story, we were the clubhouse for our kid.
Yeah.
And we were underfunded and understaffed.
Yeah.
We didn't have the knowledge to know what recovery looked like. So had he potentially had a clubhouse to go to, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah. Is he a part of it now?
No, but I get him in there. He paints and he does some stuff. He's very independent right now and got through college and did all that stuff. So he probably doesn't need it the way some people might.
Yeah.
I think he does, but it's fine.
Mom, no, I don't need to go to the
clubhouse. And a
clubhouse.
lot of them, I got him in there the other day and it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So
what, is there, I guess, I mean.
The members are very fun.
Yeah.
They come from all walks of life.
Yeah.
Young, older. It's all adults though. There's no kids.
Okay, that's good to know. And like you said, it's like a lifetime.
Yeah, it's a lifetime thing. And they learn how to operate the clubhouse from bills to lunch to social rec activities after work, because you work hard, you play hard.
Yeah.
So we just try to imitate what life is really like.
So what do you have to, I guess, show to become a part of it or to become a member?
So referrals can happen.
Okay.
So if you have a therapist that you're dealing with and that you could get a referral from them, you don't really need to have anything other than a mental health challenge, whether it's diagnosed or not, that's affecting your life, and you want to be connected with either resources or people, or you want a safe place during the day. For instance, what if you get out of jail and you have been suffering from anxiety disorder or something? What are you going to do during the day if you've been in jail? You don't have a job.
Yeah.
Your parents are mad at you. Maybe you should come to the clubhouse and we'll figure it out. There's a lot of buddy system going on there that's very magical.
So awesome. And I want to make sure that we answer this question because we went backwards when I asked about volunteers. And needs any specific skills you're looking for?
Yeah, we are looking for our NAMI board, National Alliance on Mental Illness Far North, serves Bonner and Boundary County. What we're looking for right now is a treasurer.
Okay.
Because now we have a different kind of budget. It's fun, but it's a little different than when we didn't have the clubhouse.
Okay.
And then we also need a board member, period. Just someone that wants to share their skills with us. Maybe they're in finance, or we have a couple therapists, but we would welcome a therapist. Anybody really that
if you care
has
about
a passion for mental illness and some of the things, maybe they want to be an advocate. That would be great. If they love to go down to Boise or just work on bills with me, that would be great. So that type of the governing board would be great. And then with Clubhouse, we really do need advisors for this program. It could be an art teacher. It could be anybody that wants to come in and really help can, or they can be a board member as an advisor. So we're going to have those two separate things.
Okay.
The clubhouse itself could use volunteers during the day. that would be awesome, because sometimes we don't have as many members as we need to make it a work order day or a work structured day if there's only like 3 people in there, because we're very new. Right now we have about 30 active members, but they don't come at the same time. So we're growing and building that.
Okay, that's great to know. And then do you have any kind of events or like big fundraisers that you do throughout the year or anything like that the folks should know about?
And that's another place where you could volunteer. We also need support group leaders for family members. That would be really helpful.
Okay.
We train, of course. And it's all, you get a stipend or whatever. You get a little extra, but most of NAMI work is volunteer. Our event this year is going to be NAMI Walks. This will be our 4th annual. And this year it's going to be at Matchwood Brewery in the fall. October 4th is a Saturday. And it's going to be a big one because Andrea is involved. She owns Matchwood and she has great ideas. So we're going to probably have some speakers. We'll have resource tables there, and we will need volunteers for that. Okay. That would be really fun. It's a pretty fun team. It's a great event to do because usually October 4th is beautiful.
Yeah.
In North Idaho. Has anyone ever said that? It always rains, right? But no, October 4th will be fine.
Yes, it will be. It will be great.
Yeah, that's an event. And we're doing it the same time as Winter Ridge's neighbor fair. I forget what they call it, health fair. But different time, like it'll be the walk in the morning and then they can go to the fair afterwards.
Nice.
So it'll be a really fun day. And I know Ethan Murray Fund, Justy Murray, is going to host a really good speaker on Thursday before the walk at the Canada. And then we're also having a woman come and speak. I'm thinking it will be at the Heartwood, from a podcast called 3 Women in the Trenches. And it's about 3 moms, very successful authors, podcasters, and they talk about mental health issues for moms, families, anybody really. They have amazing guests on, and they're pretty famous. So Miriam Feldman is a speaker. She's riveting. She's just great. And how mental health intersects law, I think we're going to talk about that at the either the Canada or the Heartwood the Friday night before. So there's a lot coming up in that first week in October. Look out. Mental Health Week coming up.
Multiple events. You can kind of hit different Ethan Murray Fund and NAMI and the Winter Ridge and everybody. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like a
Winter Ridge has been extremely generous, and all 3 of us kind of click together and try to stay together with our projects and things and support each other.
That's great. That's wonderful. Okay, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to make sure people know about? Anything that you provide folks? We talked about volunteers, we talked about needs, we talked about the clubhouse. Anything we missed that the listeners need to know about?
No, I'm just really excited that we were able to do this in this town. I'm super grateful for our community. They've been very welcoming because it is kind of weird to deal with this population that has trouble communicating sometimes. It can be awkward to be with people that live with mental health challenges, as we all know. And just being open to the fact that we're doing this here is a big step because we're not in a blue state.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I was aware.
And I just am so grateful for our little community that we could start this here. We're going to put Clubhouse International is very proud of us for doing this. Our mentor is the COO of Clubhouse International. We're really lucky to have such great guidance so that in 8 months we could actually get something that takes 3 years to get off the ground. That's amazing.
Yeah. That is
so
awesome.
I'm just grateful. And then I want to say that recovery actually does happen. Don't give up. The people on the streets, I know, it's so hard to see it and not think this is what mental illness looks like. But that's all you're seeing.
Keep in mind that 1 in 20. That means lots of people that are
seeing the ones that have been treated and that are doing really well in living with or are in remission from their problems and challenges.
Yeah. Well, Dawn, thank you so much for what you're doing in the community. I mean, it's a huge accomplishment what you've done, as you said, and it's really inspiring, honestly, too. Just like what you can do, and you're passionate, and you work hard, and you get the right people together, and mentorship, and all that kind of good stuff. So, thank you for what you do, and I hope that people mark their calendars too for October.
Oh, I forgot to tell you,
Ooh.
we have an amazing Mentor Magnet executive director. His name is Gabriel. And Gabriel works at the clubhouse a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He's there all the time. If you are interested in touring or donating, because we still have half of our budget to go for 2026, go down, take a look at our program. It's at 513 North 4th Avenue, right downtown Sandpoint, across from Sandpoint Psychotherapy, and Gabe will give you a warm welcome, and they might even make you lunch.
So you can just walk in and get it?
Yeah, you can
don't have
just
to
walk
schedule?
in. Tuesday, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
The more I learn about this place, the cooler it is.
Well,
so.
just come on down.
Yeah, I'm going to have
Well,
to
we
now.
actually need to get air conditioning, so don't say cool yet.
Okay. It's a lukewarm
Yeah.
time at the clubhouse.
Warm
so-
breezes.
Yes. Thank you, Dawn, so
Okay,
much.
thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. For more information, you can go to crecidaho.com. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again soon.